After watching Some Pony to Watch Over Me, I wasn't sure on what to say about one of the new writers behind it being Scott Sonneborn. What I didn't know is that he wrote for Celebrity Deathmatch, which was a very adult show back then, so that's a pretty dramatic step from him. But then again, Zack Snyder stepped away from writing adult comic book movies to a CGI cartoon about gorgeous-looking owls. That, and Dave Polsky used to write for South Park. In Scott's case, I guess he would want to take on a show for a younger audience, and while this first episode didn't impress me at all, that wouldn't excuse any other episodes in the future he would write. That all depends on the quality of the episodes he does write. So in this case, Tradia is another one of his episodes. We're taking place in Rainbow Falls where a festival is being held. The festival is a marathon of exchanging items to one another based on what they desire the most. In this case, we're given 3 different plot threads, separated with each other into a couple: Twilight and Pinkie Pie, Rarity and Applejack, and Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. Twilight plans to trade some of her books away in order to save space in her library. At the same time, she's dealing with a number of ponies who are praising her for the princess title.
Hi, can I help you?
Dash plans to get her hooves on a first edition of a Daring Do book, as she possesses a collection of her first editions of the series. Unfortunately, because the owner wants what Dash doesn't have, she's on an onslaught of training offers she has to complete in order to reach the book. This was very reminiscent of an episode in Ed, Edd and Eddy, where Eddie was trying to go through various trading deals in order to get his hands on a set of eggs to trade with Rolf in order to make an omelet. Unlike that show, however, what Dash goes through, she eventually comes to make a deal that almost costed Fluttershy. In part of the deal, she was trading a 2-headed dog in which the show calls an Orthros. I hope I'm saying that correctly, given I got brawled with comments on how I mispronounced the Chimera. Chimera! God damn it! How the fuck did I screw that up again? Anyway, because the owner doesn't know how to train it, she wanted to include Fluttershy to help out, which would take a while to train. Apparently, Dash is very resentful of this afterwards and offers to trade back to get Fluttershy. On a similar topic, many have complained that Dash was given a Fluttershy on purpose to get the book, which was presenting her fangirl side going way too far. Hello, she wasn't paying full attention to the commitment. If she was really being this mean-spirited to her friend, she wouldn't have been this resentful in the first place. To be completely honest, I found this to be a better approach towards the testing of her loyalty, something in which Rainbow Falls did a poorly constructive job on. The fact that there are things that she wants and that there are things that she desires get the best out of her over her friends was a better demonstration instead of villainizing the crap out of someone. Sometimes we make bold decisions without properly speculating anything consequential. I could be looking into this too much though. Though if there was any problem that I had with the subplot, why the hell did Dash take a rusted horseshoe to trade in for something valuable in the first place? What kind of a value is that? It's like taking a beat-up CD off the ground and trading it into a game store for a fresh, unopened copy of a special edition of Final Fantasy VI, the fucking Ben-Hur of the Super NES. Dash, you should have known what you were getting yourself into. That's one of the problems I had with this episode in general. Some of the characters were hit with an idiot stick again. In a further example, Twilight was about to trade all of her books for a broken quill that a little filly was carrying. I know that she wanted to get rid of her books to save room in her library, but for a broken quill? Seriously? I have to ask, what makes you think a broken quill would be worth of any value? That could have been dug out of a garbage can. Again, with another analogy, would I want to give up a Les Paul that was signed by Jimmy Page or Slash in exchange for something dug out of the trash? No! If the kid had a toy or an action figure, that would be more plausible and actually more adorable. Thankfully, Pinkie Pie steps in and pulls a flim and flam and making the crowd convinced and wanted to trade their items for Twilight's books. That's actually kind of nice of her. Though in the end, Twilight decides to keep them anyway, regardless of what her original intentions were. Controversially, there were complaints about the moral with Twilight's subplot and that there were items to get rid of in saving space, but there are those in value who are fond of your memories. Some like DigiBrony found this to be an issue because regardless of the nostalgic values, it's still a matter of taking up space since that's the issue to resolve. Admittedly, as much as I love the Super NES, I couldn't keep it forever, as well as many other consoles I used to own back in the day. But this moral doesn't bother me because there is a time where you want to hold onto your items just a little bit longer before the time comes to an end. This is pretty much the case for Twilight given the book she's owned, and it adds a sweet ending as the same Daring Do book that was used in Read and Weep is shared to Dash. As far as Rarity and Applejack's plot goes, there really isn't much going on with them other than being look before you sleep again. The two argue with each other about what items they want to trade in for and how ludicrous their items are in which they desire. Applejack wants a rusted pan as it's a way of cooking pies faster with the same quality. Rarity, on the other hand, wants a jewel design that's very identical to the one on her saddlebag. In short, they argue with each other, but in the end, they have a change of heart. The only thing I can say here is that the differences are to be respected. It is thoughtful to think for others in what they desire. Sadly, though, this is done too comedically, and the presentation is too reminiscent of Look Before You Sleep. Not that it's wrong, just nothing new added to the table here. With all these 3 subplots, the episode is a result of a mixed bag to the fandom. but nevertheless, I still enjoyed what the episode was offering. It's nothing great, there could have been a lot of tweaks to make the narrative better, but it could have been a lot worse. As it stands, it's pretty harmless at that. The voice work for the other ponies are a bit subpar, but it's only humor on Dash's subplot that makes up for it. I still get a good chuckle at the scene when Stellar Eclipse said no to Dash immediately about the trade offer.
Will you trade a lamp for my horseshoe so I can trade it for an Orthros and get my book?
No.
For a second episode by Scott, I hope to see more of him take a step further in the episodes and improve. This episode isn't up there, but I liked it a lot more than Some Pony to Watch Over Me. Until next time, I wish I could hold my Super NES and hug it all day.